It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because we wanted to see what a country looked like with 4 seasons, food, ice cream, music. But no sarcasm, the Talk Funny podcast from NagoyaRadio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Welcome back to Talk Funny. I'm Mark Bailey. We've got Steve Howard, a fellow comedian. We've got Mike Miller.
Hi.
We've got Tofie.
Hello all.
Who is out and Arab, which is that's like 3 hours worth of podcast material right there.
Oh, yes.
Unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot of famous gay Jews, right? But not a lot of famous gay Arabs. So,
well, there are, but they're not known as gay.
And we have this inside joke. We probably should explain it because when Mike was on, we did a lot of Danny Thomas jokes. And Danny Thomas, by the way, was
Lebanese.
Christian Arab.
Okay.
He's Lebanese, which has nothing to do with you, by the way.
Certainly not.
I don't know what.
Oh, bless them though.
They're Egyptian.
They're incredible people, but moving on.
He was Christian Arab, and then he was very perverted when he got into success. And I don't know if you know Danny Thomas, but he was a famous Make Room for Daddy. Make Room for Daddy was his show, and then he had this fetish. This is a clean show, and he had this fetish where he would have girls of the night, the call girls, come over to his place, and he had a clear glass coffee table, and then they would lay on the coffee table, and they would leave something behind that kind of dirtied the coffee table.
Oh,
and he would
wet kisses.
He would lay under the coffee table as it was being.
I see.
As it was being produced, as they say, as the fudge was being made. Yeah, and he would just lay under there, and then so. We had a coffee table here, and we had to throw it out. Mike was asking, why did you have to throw it out? And I said, it's a long story. None of your business, Mike.
It's interesting to know how you know that. What got you researching it?
Well, you know, when something happens to you, you have to justify it, right?
Ah, I see. Oh, someone famous did it, so I could do it too.
So
hey, how's that Kevin Spacey?
That's the thing with Kevin Spacey, you know, it's like...
Oh, I disown him from the gay community. He's no longer part of us, and that's it.
Well, it's like, yeah, I molested a 14-year-old. Yeah, I'm gay. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Doesn't really make it better.
It's kind of like like Madoff going, I embezzled millions and millions of dollars. What did you expect? I'm a Jew, right? People think it. You think it, but you don't say it. Like, those gay people, they do that kind of stuff. That's weird, right? But he had this huge backlash. And maybe House of Cards was ending anyway. That was one of the rumors. But then they officially said that House of Cards...
I was just reading a news article on my way here, actually, and they were saying that even the House of Cards staff, on the current staff, complained about him. So it's not just years and years ago. This is an ongoing thing.
Well, you knew something was up with House of Cards because, I mean, he was always holding the queen in his hand. So, hey, see what I did there? That's a flim-flam. That's a Yiddish word, flim-flam. We covered the Arabic thing. We had something we wanted to do with Tofie about Arab moms versus Jewish moms.
Sure.
So I got a Jewish mom, you got an Arab mom. How many Arab moms do you have? One? Yeah.
I have one, yes.
Yes. Okay, so why don't you start first? Arab moms.
Let's see. She wants me to do a PhD because she says, quote, "You'll be digging money with your slippers. It'll be that easy to dig money out."
Right.
And I'm like, but I have hopes and dreams and I want to be alive. She's like, no. Do a PhD. Okay.
Okay. So Jewish moms will do the CV as they say the person's name. So, you know, your cousin, you know, the one who studied longer than you in college, the one who got better grades, your cousin? Yeah, Mom, I know. That was 10 years, you know, it was 10 years ago. You know, but also, you know, your cousin, the other cousin, you know, his sister, you know, the doctor. Yeah, I know she's a doctor, Mom. I know. Uh-huh. Yeah, she's a doctor, you know. Apparently that pays really well. Did you know about that? Yeah, I know doctors get paid. But, Mom, I didn't go to medical school, so it's kind of hard to be a doctor when you don't go to medical school. It's like, well, remember when you were 8, I told you to go to medical school. I'm like, Mom, I couldn't spell medical school when I was 8, right? So that's kind of the same, right? Arab moms, Jewish moms. Okay, I'll do one. Jewish moms, so I call my mom. Like almost every now she's not feeling so well, so I call her a lot more often. But I'll call her. Used to call her about once a month, twice a month. So it's like, yeah. So what are the phone systems when I call her? What are the phone systems? They don't have phones everywhere in Japan. Like you were somewhere where they didn't have a phone. You know, they have these things called mobile phones now. So, yeah, man, I know.
Oh.
Yeah, they're called smartphones. If you were smart, you'd call your mom. You'd call your mom. All right. So Arab moms, not so much.
Well, I was the same as you. I only called her once a month if she didn't call me first. But after she visited me here, I've grown very attached to her because when she came to visit me, the tables were turned. I became the adult and she became the rebellious teenager. I was telling her, Mom, don't eat like that, eat like this. Mom, don't mix those two together. Mom, you cannot order mixed drinks. Mom, you have to cross the sidewalk when it's green, not red. Mom, don't wear that, wear this. Mom, don't speak this way, speak that way.
That's good.
Mom, you're embarrassing me.
That's hilarious.
It's funny.
I like it.
Another one is I'll call my mom and I'm thinking the Mother's Day. I think it's like Australia and Japan or something. They have different Mother's Day dates. It's not the same as the U.S. And then I call my mom. She's like, "Yeah, so there's this thing called Mother's Day. So people that have mothers, they send them cards. That was last Sunday.
Oh, God.
Yeah, people that have moms. That's everybody, Mom. She's like, yeah, like you. Yeah. So where's my card? And I said, well, Mother's Day isn't the same in all the other countries, so it's not on my calendar. I have a Japanese calendar. It's not on there as U.S. Mother's Day. They don't put that on there. And she's like, well, you're this big inventor and you're this big businessman. Why don't you make a calendar like that? That way you won't forget.
What did she mean by big?
I don't know.
Question here.
Well, it's sardonic, right? It's sarcastic.
Yes.
Oh, you're the big shot. Oh, you're the big businessman. You can't make a calendar. You don't. You have to see something on the calendar. I said, Mom, but it's not all the same Mother's Day universally. She's like, yes, it is. No, it's not actually. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Actually, it's not, Mom. Oh, it's not? No. Okay.
Well, I think my parents are a bit more. They like to let it simmer. If I forget one of their birthdays or a special day, they won't call me out for it. They'll know that I'm gonna
because you're already out.
No. I'm laughing because it's my first day. Anyway, so they won't call me out for it. They'll know that I'm going to realize that I forgot it, and I'm going to have to come up with this huge speech of an apology, and they'll be like, okay, like I just lost, and I owe them something, and they will cash in on that. Very, very, a Jew would admire how properly they would cash out on it.
It's like a mafia favor.
Yeah. So here's one. Jewish moms, they'll hit you with this in the middle. Like I'm in the middle of talking about how busy I am and blah, blah, blah. That's why I couldn't call. But you're eating kosher, right? You're eating halal, right? You're eating halal, right? Your mom ask you that? And what do you say?
Not quite. We're not that religious at all.
Okay.
So it's just, are you eating? Because there was a part where there was a time in my life when I wasn't eating that well. So she was like, "Oh, are you eating?" Like, yes, frequently, yes. And she asked me what the color of my excrement is.
Whoa!
Right. That's exactly
because
right. That's true. Same.
She went through this huge health craze. I remember coming home from school and she'd toss a salad, and I'm like, oh, okay. My mom's being really health conscious these days, so she's like, make sure you go to the bathroom twice a day. And make sure it's this color, not that. I'm like, should I dye it, or what can I do to ensure it's the way you want it to be?
And Mike, this is a clean show. No toss salad jokes, please.
Yeah, I have a whole book full of them.
I've had that too, and this was embarrassing because my fiance, before I got married, my fiance was on the line with me. We would call my mom and tell her we're getting married, and she's like, "Hey, how are you? What color is your stool?"
Stool is such a classy word, yeah.
You mean the one in the... Oh, okay.
I'm like, well, some of them are glass, and I got a blue one, and I don't know.
So a coffee table jokes, okay?
Coincidentally.
Don't ask what color the coffee table is. It's always brown. Always brown.
Yeah.
Always brown. Make room for Daddy. Make room for what you leave for Daddy.
Make
room for dessert.
Make other things for Danny.
So yeah, so that's probably the same as what color is your stool? And because did you have this when we learn Hebrew? We have a book on that, also in Japanese. It's called Unko-kun, right? And
I've heard of that.
It's a book for children,
yeah.
And it shows different colors of stool. I think stool is clean.
It's not as big a taboo.
Stool's not clean, but the word is clean.
Right? I mean, it's not as big a taboo in Japan as it is in, say, the West, I think. And like you talking, I mean, I've had people come up and you're like, hey, how's it going today? And one of my students would be like, oh, yeah, I'm a bit constipated.
Right.
I'm like, thank you for telling me that. That's...
That's never come up in Arabic conversation. Us being less civilized, possibly.
So when did you have the time to look up that word? Probably when I was sitting on the toilet
with the dictionary.
That's a long word.
Yeah, you can.
Well, it's been a long time since
That's right. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's constipated. But then diarrhea, you say it really quickly. Diarrhea.
Uh-huh.
Right? And in Japanese, it's really fast. Giddy.
Yeah, giddy.
Because that's how fast it is. Giddy.
Giddy.
You know how
I think I might have I had it.
Yeah.
I just had it.
You know how I knew that Getty was diarrhea? From Digimon, actually. So I'm a huge gamer.
For what is
Digimon? It's like people say it's a knockoff of Pokemon. It is not. It's a respectable world in itself. Please. Okay. Plots are different. People are different. Anyway, so they literally have a Digimon called Gettymon. Like all Digimon's names end with Mon.
Right. I have.
So there's one named. I didn't know what Getty meant when I was like playing against it or with it on the PlayStation. I came out like, you really named a Digimon after diarrhea? Like that's just too Japan. Like that's too vulgar, my dear. My goodness,
Right.
I was like, I can't look at Gettymon the same way. I'm like, I don't want to see you. I'm gonna avoid encountering you. Yeah,
this is kind of an inside joke, but in the comedy world of Nagoya, Getty means anti-Semite. That's just a guy that we used to work with.
Okay, I see.
And he would. I invited these two girls from Israel. They came to the show, fans. And he said, so what part of, your ancestors are from what part? What are you, Ashkenazi Jews? And they said, yeah. And he said, so not a real Jew. So they...
I don't know where he got that stuff.
So then they asked me for their money back, and I said, you are a real Jew. Tell Gary, you are a real Jew. You demanded your money back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Well, I paid nothing, so there.
We had a lot of fun. We're going to have you guys back next week if you can make it. And
I'd love to.
This has been Talk Funny.
Too.
We've been with Steve Howard. I'm Mark Bailey, and we've been with Mike Miller and Tofie. And then tune in next week for the cockroach story, we promise, and Revenge of the Roommate. Roommate Revenge. Revenge on the Roommate.
Yes.
Right? Okay, and this has been Talk Funny, brought to you by NagoyaComedy.com. Check us out on Facebook, Nagoya Comedy, Facebook page, and NagoyaComedy.com. Any comments? Mike Miller, addressed to Mike Miller, MILLR.
MOLLAR.
And Steve Howard, last name is spelled JBLTLD. And then
in Arabic.
And we will talk to you again next week. This has been Talk Funny. Thanks.